Have you ever struggled with figuring out what you want to do next? In a sense, crafting a vision for your life going forward? Here's a useful exercise for you to try if that's something you struggle with. Often, when we look into our past and see where we've come and what we've been through, it's a really good way to kind of get a sense for what we might want to create going forward. So here's the exercise. Take your age in years for as long as you've been alive and divide it into fifths, right? So if you're 40 years old, that would be 5 periods of 8 years each: 0 to 8, 9 to 16, 17 to 24, 25 to 32, 33 to 40. Within each phase, I want you to sort of write this on a piece of paper. I want you to kind of reflect on what was the most significant thing that you remember from that time period. What were you like that you remember? What was super important to you? What was meaningful? What big challenge came up along the way? Now, obviously, for some phases, there'll be more that you can remember than others, right? Like when I reflect on my life, 0 to 8 or 0 to 9, I sort of just remember being a pretty happy kid. I actually wasn't very driven to do well in school. It was more about playing with friends in that time period. But then there's other periods of my life, especially, the years where I was in college or when I got married and then when I got divorced and then when I started my business, that were very significant. So this exercise I just love because it is a forced sort of recognition of the progress that you've made and the lessons that you've learned. When you've been through phases of life, you've been through challenges, you've made mistakes, you've done really well and had some big accomplishments. And this is a really good way to kind of take stock of that and then try to see, are there any points or patterns that emerge in all the different phases? For instance, for me, in every phase of my life, it was clear that sort of people and the development and bettering ourselves was something that held through. Even when I was a kid, I remember I would study really hard in my second phase because I just wanted to do well. And there was nothing more pleasing to me than to help my friends help them along the way. When I was an actuary in the corporate world, part of the job that I enjoyed the most was actually mentoring young actuarial students on how to be visible and how to gain influence and how to grow. And so that has been sort of a thread, if you will, through each phase of my life. And so when I think and reflect on sort of my next decade or my next 8 to 9 years, when I think about what I want to create or craft, that is probably something that also will be an underlying theme, even if the way it manifests or shows up is in a different realm. So for you, I would recommend kind of going back, noting these big points that came up, noting what lessons you've learned, and then taking a lens and shifting it and applying it sort of to the future to say, what does that now tell me about what I might want to create going forward? I hope that was helpful. Until next time.